I always thought family support was supposed to be unconditional. After graduating top of my class and landing a great software engineering job, I was proud to help my struggling family with their bills. For 3 years, I paid for everything from mortgages to medical expenses, never questioning their gratitude. Then my aunt accidentally sent me a video that changed everything. My own family laughing about what a pathetic failure I was while cashing my checks. The betrayal cut deep, but I stayed silent until the next payment was due. Hey everyone, where are you watching from today? Hit that like and subscribe button if your family has ever taken advantage of your kindness. Growing up in a small town in Indiana was never easy. Our family grocery store barely kept food on our table, and my parents worked grueling 14-hour days just to stay afloat. I watched them come home with calloused hands and exhausted eyes collapsing into bed, only to rise before dawn the next day. Despite their hard work, bill collectors called constantly, and the threat of losing our modest home loomed over every family dinner. I was the odd one out from the beginning. While my sister Jessica excelled at sports and social activities, I buried myself in books and computer programming, teaching myself to code on an ancient desktop computer I salvaged from the school dumpster. My father would shake his head whenever he passed my room, muttering that I was wasting time on useless hobbies instead of helping at the store. When I scored a full academic scholarship to Purdue University, my family reacted with mixed emotions. My mother hugged me with tears in her eyes, genuinely proud, while my father gruffly mentioned how the store would struggle without my weekend help. Jessica rolled her eyes, saying college was just an excuse to avoid real work. My Aunt Meredith, who lived in the guest house behind our property, commented that technical degrees were for people who lacked social skills. College proved harder than I expected. The scholarship covered tuition, but nothing else. I worked 3 jobs simultaneously: morning shifts at the cafeteria, afternoon hours at the computer lab, and weekend nights stocking shelves at a local grocery. Between jobs and classes, I averaged 4 hours of sleep, surviving on instant ramen and free coffee from sympathetic baristas. The computer science program was brutally competitive. Many classmates came from wealthy backgrounds with years of coding experience and the latest equipment. I studied on my secondhand laptop in the 24-hour library, often until security kicked me out at closing time. My phone would light up with texts from my family complaining about their problems, the store losing customers to the new Walmart Jessica needing money for car repairs, Aunt Meredith facing eviction after her divorce. During those years, I felt guilty for not being home to help, promising myself that once I graduated, I would make it up to them. Their struggles motivated me through all-night coding sessions and crushing exam periods. I graduated with honors, earning special recognition from the department for my senior project developing accessibility software for visually impaired users. My first job came through a career fair, a junior developer position at a growing tech startup in Seattle. The starting salary was 3 times what my parents made in a year combined. I moved across the country with everything I owned packed into 2 suitcases and a backpack, renting a tiny studio apartment that cost more than my parents' house payment. Within 18 months, I had proven myself invaluable to the company. My accessibility software became one of our most successful products, leading to a substantial promotion and a salary increase. At 24, I was earning 6 figures, with generous stock options and bonuses. Around this time, the family crises escalated. My parents called one night, voices shaking, explaining that the bank was threatening foreclosure on both the store and our house. They needed $80,000 to clear the debts, or they would lose everything. Without hesitation, I transferred the money, nearly all my savings, and set up automatic monthly transfers to cover their mortgage and utilities. Jessica totaled her car the following month, sustaining injuries that required surgery and physical therapy. Her insurance had lapsed, leaving her with medical bills exceeding $50,000. Again, I stepped in, negotiating with the hospital and setting up payment plans that came from my account. Aunt Meredith called next, sobbing that her ex-husband had stopped alimony payments and she was 3 months behind on rent. I cleared her debt and began paying her monthly expenses, reasoning that family takes care of family. The pride I felt in supporting my loved ones was immeasurable. When I received messages thanking me for saving the family home, or pictures of Jessica recovering in a private hospital room, I felt a deep satisfaction. My work had meaning beyond career advancement. I was the family hero, the one who made everything better. The first sign that something was off came about 6 months into my financial support. The grateful phone calls grew shorter and less frequent. My parents stopped sending detailed breakdowns of expenses, instead just requesting specific amounts with vague explanations. Jessica, once effusive with thankfulness, now texted only when she needed more money for what she called recovery expenses. One Tuesday morning, I received an email from my father requesting an additional $20,000 for critical store renovations. When I asked for details about the renovations, his response was uncharacteristically snippy. "Do you need to micromanage everything? We know how to run our business." I transferred the money anyway, swallowing my concerns. 3 weeks later, I noticed my parents had posted Facebook photos of their anniversary getaway to Cancun, a trip they had never mentioned to me. The photos showed them lounging at an all-inclusive resort, dining at upscale restaurants, and shopping at luxury boutiques. I rationalized that they deserved a vacation after decades of hard work, even though something felt wrong about the secrecy. Jessica began requesting funds beyond her medical needs, money for a therapeutic shopping weekend or a mental health retreat to a spa. When I gently asked how these expenses related to her accident recovery, she accused me of being controlling and reminded me how traumatized she still was from the crash. I backed off, immediately feeling guilty for questioning her needs. Aunt Meredith developed an impressive talent for emergencies. Her roof leaked, her car broke down, her dental work required specialized procedures not covered by insurance. Each crisis necessitated immediate financial intervention, which I provided without fail. Yet her social media showed her attending wine tastings, taking cooking classes, and redecorating her apartment with designer furniture. My growing unease intensified when I missed my cousin Travis' wedding due to a critical product launch that required my presence. Though I sent an extremely generous gift and a heartfelt apology, the family response was ice cold. My mother called to tell me how disappointed everyone was, how family should come before work, and how Travis had taken my absence as a personal insult. The fact that my gift check had been cashed immediately went unmentioned, as did the reality that my work was funding the entire family lifestyle. When I logged into Facebook that night, I saw dozens of wedding photos with relatives I was supporting financially, all having an extravagant celebration without a single toast or acknowledgement of the person who had made it possible. My father's 60th birthday celebration the following month drove the point home further. Unable to attend due to an unmovable client presentation that could secure my next promotion, I arranged for an exclusive catered dinner at their favorite restaurant and a custom-made watch delivered to the event. The family video chat that night featured everyone wearing new outfits and showing off gifts with minimal thanks for my contribution. My father spent 3 minutes explaining how my absence had cast a shadow over the whole celebration. Social media became increasingly difficult to check. My parents posted about their new Ford Explorer but never mentioned it in our calls. Jessica tagged herself at designer stores and exclusive nightclubs while supposedly too injured to work. Aunt Meredith shared photos of her completely remodeled kitchen with high-end appliances during the same week she requested additional funds for basic necessities. The cognitive dissonance created mounting anxiety. Before each family call, my stomach would knot and my palms would sweat. I began rehearsing responses to potential money requests, steeling myself against the emotional manipulation that had become routine. Still, I told myself that family deserves comfort and happiness, and if my success could provide that, wasn't it my responsibility to share the nagging suspicion that I was being used, competed with my desperate need to believe in my family loyalty? I buried these thoughts, focusing instead on my work and the satisfaction of being the provider. If my family took advantage sometimes, surely it came from a place of need rather than exploitation. This rationalization helped me sleep at night, even as the financial demands increased and the gratitude diminished. The video arrived on a Thursday night. I had just finished a 14-hour workday successfully debugging a critical error that had threatened our latest release. Exhausted but satisfied, I collapsed onto my couch and checked my phone to find a text from Aunt Meredith meant to send to Travis. Ignore followed by a video attachment. My thumb hovered over the delete button, but curiosity won out. Maybe it contained something important about the family. I pressed play, expecting perhaps some mundane family moment or a cute pet video. The footage showed our living room back home, decorated for what appeared to be a recent family gathering. The camera panned across the room, revealing my parents, Jessica, Aunt Meredith, and several cousins lounging with drinks in hand. They were laughing about something, and I smiled instinctively at seeing them enjoying themselves. Then I heard my name. "So Romeo called today checking on how the store renovations are going," my father said, making air quotes around renovations, while everyone laughed knowingly. "Did you show him the pictures of your fishing boat?" Jessica asked, nearly spitting out her drink with laughter. "Are you kidding? He actually believes we needed a new refrigeration system." My father shook his head. "For a smart guy, he sure is a pathetic failure at seeing what right in front of him." My blood turned to ice as my mother chimed in. "All that education, all that potential, and what does he do? Lives alone in a tiny apartment, sending all his money to us. Such a waste." Jessica raised her glass in a mock toast. "Here to my brilliant brother, too socially awkward to have friends or a girlfriend, so we might as well benefit from his loneliness. Easiest money I have ever made." The camera zoomed in on Aunt Meredith as she topped off her wine glass. "The best part is he should be grateful we still talk to him at all. Remember how weird he was as a kid? Always with those computers, never playing sports or doing normal things." She affected a serious expression. "But family is family, so we include him from a distance. A long, profitable distance." The room erupted in laughter as my cousin Travis, who was apparently recording, joined in. "To Romeo the ATM, may he never get a clue." My hands shook so violently I dropped the phone. A wave of nausea hit me as I rushed to the bathroom, barely making it before emptying my stomach. Kneeling on the cold tile floor, I felt as though the foundation of my life had crumbled beneath me. These people, my blood relatives whom I had sacrificed everything for, had been laughing at me behind my back while systematically exploiting my love and loyalty. For the first time in 3 years, I called in sick the next day. I spent hours reviewing my bank statements, tallying the total I had sent home. The figure was staggering $217,435 over 3 years. Money that had apparently funded vacations, vehicles, home improvements, and luxury items, rather than the emergencies and necessities I had been told about. After a sleepless night, I called my parents directly, my voice surprisingly calm despite the storm raging inside me. "I received an interesting video yesterday," I said, without preamble. There was a brief silence before my father responded, his tone defensive. "What video?" "Aunt Meredith accidentally sent me footage from your recent get-together, the one where you all toasted to Romeo the ATM and called me a pathetic failure." My mother immediately jumped in. "Oh, honey, those were just jokes. You know how family teases each other. You always were so sensitive. You were laughing about manipulating me and stealing my money. You called me a waste of potential." My father scoffed audibly. "Now, you completely misinterpreting things. We appreciate everything you do, but if you want to take some light-hearted family banter and twist it into something ugly, that on you." Before I could respond, Jessica grabbed the phone. "How dare you spy on private family moments?" she sobbed dramatically. "After all we have been through after my accident and trauma, now you want to make me feel guilty for accepting help. That's so selfish, Romeo, so heartless." The conversation deteriorated further, with each family member taking turns, either denying the video content, minimizing it as jokes, or turning the accusations back on me for being ungenerous and untrusting. Aunt Meredith texted separately, claiming her phone had been hacked, and the video must have been doctored to make them look bad. I hung up feeling hollowed out, a shell of the person I had been just 24 hours earlier. The gaslighting was so complete, so coordinated, that for a brief moment, I wondered if I had indeed misinterpreted everything. But replaying the video confirmed the ugly truth. There was no context that could make those statements anything but brutal betrayal. The weekend that followed was the darkest of my life. I shut off my phone, closed my blinds, and isolated myself completely. The depression that engulfed me was all-consuming, a black hole that threatened to collapse my entire identity. Who was I? If not the family hero, the provider, the successful son who made everything better. What was the point of my achievements? If the people I loved most saw me only as a resource to exploit, I reviewed childhood memories with new, clarity recognizing patterns I had been too close to see. How my academic accomplishments were always downplayed, while Jessica's mediocre achievements were celebrated. How my parents had discouraged my computer interests, while simultaneously expecting me to fix every technical problem in the house. How Aunt Meredith had nicknamed me the weird one, but always called when her internet needed troubleshooting. The exploitation hadn't begun with my career success. It had merely escalated. I had been conditioned since childhood to provide value without expecting recognition, to give without receiving, to measure my worth by my usefulness to others. The revelation came at 3 in the morning on Sunday as I sat staring at the Seattle skyline through my apartment window. Enabling their behavior wasn't helping anyone. Not them, not me. Real love doesn't exploit. Real family doesn't mock and manipulate. And real strength sometimes means walking away. In that moment of clarity, something shifted inside me. The helpless victim transformed into a man with agency and power. I would not continue to fund my own abuse. I would reclaim my dignity and self-worth. And I would do it not with emotional outbursts or vengeful actions, but with calculated strategic silence. Monday morning, I called a financial advisor recommended by a colleague and scheduled an emergency consultation. Together, we documented every dollar I had sent to my family over the years, categorizing each transfer by stated purpose and recipient. I closed the joint checking account I had established for family expenses and opened new accounts at a different bank with advanced security protocols. My next call was to a private investigator, an expense I would have considered frivolous just days before. I requested thorough research into my family, actual financial situation, property records, business filings, tax information, anything publicly available that would give me insight into the true state of their affairs. The results arrived 3 days later, revealing truths more shocking than I had imagined. The struggling family store had been consistently profitable for the past 5 years, with revenue doubling since a major competitor closed. My parents owned not just their home but 2 rental properties purchased 18 months earlier, right around the time I began sending substantial funds for the supposed foreclosure threat. Jessica's medical bills had been covered entirely by a settlement from the other driver insurance, a fact she had deliberately concealed from me. Her recovery expenses had funded a luxury condo purchase and a new Mercedes. And Aunt Meredith, far from being destitute after her divorce, had received a substantial settlement, including ongoing alimony that covered her basic needs completely. Armed with this information, I implemented a complete communication blackout. No calls, no texts, no emails, no social media engagement. I set up auto-replies stating I was on an extended work assignment with limited connectivity, then settled in to wait. The first week passed with increasing urgency in their messages. Casual checking-in texts escalated to concerned voicemails, then angry demands to know why I was ignoring the family. My father left a particularly telling message on day 6. "We need to discuss the monthly transfers. Call immediately." By week 2, the panic was palpable. Jessica sent dozens of messages alternating between guilt trips about her ongoing health issues and thinly veiled threats about family loyalty. My mother left tearful voicemails about how worried they all were, though her concern noticeably focused on whether I was still able to help out financially. Aunt Meredith claimed to be organizing a wellness check with Seattle police, though no officers ever appeared. The third week brought escalation. Family members I hadn't heard from in years suddenly reached out expressing concern about my well-being. Cousins, uncles, and family friends sent messages clearly orchestrated by my immediate family, all probing for information about my financial situation rather than my health or happiness. One particularly transparent cousin wrote, "Your parents mentioned you might be having money problems and cannot help them anymore. Is everything okay with your job?" Throughout this barrage, I maintained absolute silence, strengthening my resolve with each manipulative attempt at contact. The private investigator continued monitoring their activities, reporting that my parents had begun listing one of their rental properties for sale, and Jessica was suddenly interviewing for jobs, the first employment she had sought in 3 years. On the morning the monthly transfers were scheduled, transfers that would not be coming. My phone exploded with notifications. My father called 15 times in 2 hours, leaving progressively more hostile messages. This is completely irresponsible. We have bills due today that you committed to paying. Is this some kind of sick game to punish your family? My mother alternated between weeping voicemails about being unable to buy groceries despite the $100,000 balance in their business account and sharp accusations about my selfish behavior. Jessica sent a barrage of texts claiming she would be evicted if I didn't send money immediately, followed by a dramatic announcement that she might be forced to do something desperate if I didn't help. The crowning manipulation came from Aunt Meredith, who had apparently been designated the nuclear option. She left a voicemail claiming she had been hospitalized with stress-induced cardiac issues caused by my abandonment of the family, and that doctors were not optimistic about her recovery. The investigator confirmed she had not visited any medical facility and had in fact been photographed wine tasting with friends that very afternoon. After giving them the full day to escalate and expose their true priorities, I sent a single email addressed to all of them. The message was calm, factual, and utterly unambiguous. I have received and documented all your messages from the past 3 weeks. Attached, you will find the video Aunt Meredith accidentally sent me along with a complete transcript for clarity. Also attached is an itemized list of all financial support I have provided over the past 3 years, totaling $217,435. Additionally, you will find public records showing the actual state of your finances, including profitable business filings, property purchases, and settlement records. I am aware that the emergencies and necessities you claimed were largely fabricated to exploit my sense of family obligation. Effective immediately, all financial support has been permanently discontinued. The joint accounts have been closed. Any future relationship between us will require family therapy, complete financial transparency, and genuine accountability for your actions. I remain open to healing if genuine remorse and changed behavior are demonstrated. The choice is yours. Any further manipulative messages will be added to my documentation and may result in permanent estrangement. Romeo. The responses came in rapid succession. My father threatened legal action for promised support, though any lawyer would have advised him that no enforceable obligation existed. My mother sent a lengthy message alternating between attacking my character and begging for reconciliation on their terms. Jessica accused me of deliberate cruelty and claimed her medical condition had worsened due to my actions. Aunt Meredith predictably made a miraculous recovery from her supposed cardiac event to send a scathing email about family loyalty and how I would regret this decision when you have nobody left who loves you. I added each message to my documentation, without response, maintaining the boundary I had established. Over the following weeks, the tone gradually shifted. The threats and accusations gave way to awkward attempts at normalizing the relationship without addressing the underlying betrayal. My father sent brief business-like updates about the store. My mother shared family recipes and childhood photos as though nothing had happened. Jessica announced she had found a job, framing it as a positive life choice rather than financial necessity. 2 months after the confrontation, my father sent an email acknowledging that certain comments in the video were inappropriate. The closest thing to an apology I had received. My mother followed with a lengthy message that circled around the issues without directly addressing her role in the deception. Jessica remained defensive, insisting she had been misunderstood, while suggesting we simply move forward without looking back. Aunt Meredith maintained that the video had been taken out of context but expressed generic regret for any hurt feelings. The half-hearted accountability demonstrated that true change would require more than financial consequences. I responded with consistent, clear boundaries. I would consider rebuilding relationships with those who demonstrated genuine remorse and changed behavior, but financial support would never resume. I suggested family therapy for anyone interested in authentic reconciliation, offering to cover the cost as my final contribution to the family system. My father and Jessica never responded to the therapy offer. My mother attended 3 sessions before quitting when the therapist began exploring her enabling behaviors. Only Aunt Meredith surprisingly committed to the process, gradually developing genuine insight into her actions, and working to establish a healthier relationship based on mutual respect rather than financial benefit. As the dust settled, I redirected my resources toward my own well-being. I moved to a larger apartment with a view of Puget Sound, began therapy to address the deep wounds of family betrayal, and developed friendships with colleagues who appreciated me for more than what I could provide materially. I established a substantial personal investment portfolio and created a scholarship fund for first-generation college students from my hometown, supporting those truly in need rather than those exploiting obligation. When holiday seasons approached, I volunteered at community centers and built new traditions with friends who had become chosen family. Looking back 1 year later, the accidental video that shattered my world actually freed me from a destructive pattern. My career has flourished, with the emotional energy no longer drained by family manipulation. The promotion I was working toward came through along with an opportunity to lead development of a new accessibility platform that could help thousands. My relationship with family remains selectively distant. I maintain limited contact with my mother and Aunt Meredith, with clear boundaries that they mostly respect. My father and Jessica chose estrangement rather than accountability, a painful outcome I have come to accept. Some extended family members, once they understood the full situation, developed more authentic connections with me based on mutual respect rather than financial expectation. The greatest growth has come in my ability to form healthy relationships outside the family system. I have built friendships with people who value me for who I am, not what I can provide. I have even begun dating someone who demonstrates the genuine care and reciprocity I now recognize as essential to any meaningful connection. The lesson I learned through this painful journey is that true love requires both compassion and boundaries. Supporting others should elevate everyone involved, not enable dysfunction or exploitation. Self-respect is not selfishness, and walking away from abuse is sometimes the most loving choice you can make for yourself and for those who need consequences to grow. I wonder if any of you have faced similar situations with family taking advantage of your success or generosity. Have you had to set difficult boundaries with loved ones? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you or might help someone you know who is struggling with family exploitation, please like, subscribe, and share this video. Remember, you deserve relationships built on mutual respect, not obligation. Thank you for listening, and I wish you the courage to value yourself as much as you value others.